Hello everybody, my name's Conor McGilligan, this is One Leeds, welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, The Job Match Group and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, The Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, The Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo, they're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just $5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors, check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video. Hello everybody, my name is Conor McGilligan, this is One Leeds, this is the Rumour Mill. What is going on in your world? I hope you're all doing fantastically well. Today we've got rumour after rumour. It's been a good couple of days, and guys, who knows? This could be an even better set as well with some of the rumours that we've got to speak about today. I just want to put out there, everybody, that this isn't the consolidation mill, the confirmation mill. This is the rumour mill. It is all based on rumours. We rate the rumours. We go through scouting profiles when it comes to the players every single morning from 10 a.m. We see all the regulars, but it's great to see some new faces in here as well. If I could, guys, I will direct you to the Patreon as well. We are going to start uploading even more content going forward over there, getting back into the near season prime. Also, we do have a second channel, the Conor McGilligan channel as well. If you like your general bits, we've got a video over there with Matt SB. We've got one with Benjamin Bloom. We've got one with Callum Fowler. And we've got another one coming today or tomorrow. So make sure you check that out for some bonus bits as well if you're interested in your general. What's going on in your world, everybody? Great to see some of the regulars in the comment section below. Harry says, morning, Conor. Hope you're well. All good, my friend. Good to see you in here. Blessings, Conor. Blessings to you as well, my friend. What is going on in your world? Hope everything's going well. Always has to come on and apologize. Okay, this guy. Okay, we've got a toxic one. We've got a toxic one. We've got a miserable guy in the building. Hi, Conor. How you, mate? What's going on? Morning. How are we doing, everybody? Morning. Lee, some of the regulars are in here. Good morning, Conor. Is it true about Mes? Are you teasing us? Mate, it is just the rumor, and we are getting onto it in just a little bit. Hello from Melbourne. Bring us some good news, Conor. James in the building. Morning, mate. Hopefully the Elan news means we are working on a deal with our new player. 100%, mate. Derek says, hi from Dublin. I see Damien Duff walked out on his job in Dublin halfway through a season, and today linked with Brentford and Keith Andrews. Hope it's a failure. Yeah, man, you're not the first person to speak on that, really, when it comes to players. And yeah, as I say, everybody, welcome Yaka Biol. This was what we were doing yesterday, but how amazing is that to get him through the door? We did a little bit of a scouting profile on Yaka yesterday, everybody, as well, and what he can bring in the formation he can really work into when it comes to a 3, when it comes to a back 4, the pros and some of the cons with him, but the majority of the pros, and what an unbelievable signing this is and will hopefully be for Leeds United as well. What you think in the comment section below. We're back rolling below. There we go. Okay, everybody. Well, let's get into the first rumour on the mill. What's going on today? Well, I want to speak about Nikola Krstovic. Now, we spoke about this guy on the channel right at the very beginning of the window, really. There was a lot going on when it comes to the profile of Nikola, why Leeds would go in for him. And I was quite, I don't know, you set back a little bit on him because you're thinking to yourself, it's kind of his agent talk. Tuzo Mercato have spoken about it. Calcio Mercato as well. You've had a lot of Italian sources speaking on this guy. And it's because he's probably one of those players right now in Serie A who is just a hot property. 21 goals scored last season and looks like an absolute monster in all competitions. and all competitions, looks like an absolute monster who could acclimatise to a better league. Now, physically aggressive, mobile, strong in aerial duels, a good finisher, pressing absolutely ideal for a Daniel Farke dynamic number 9. And I do think with these vertical transitions that we're going to be utilising in the Premier League, and we do with Daniel Farke anyway, and once again mentioning that P word, the pressing, I think he could rotate and complement another striker, maybe in Daniel Farke's system. So obviously the pros are in being mobile, hard working, is finishing, movement's really decent as well. The cons maybe adjusting to the Premier League. But as we've mentioned before, the criteria for us here on One Leeds is that player who can effectively, because he's playing in the top 5 leagues, I think he should be a target for Leeds United, or players of the top 5 leagues should be targets for Leeds United, because you're working outside that. And we're speaking about Gluck yesterday, Oscar Gluck, and how he would fit in. I think there's a massive risk, obviously, with him being in the Austrian Bundesliga. Apparently, Liverpool and Man United have been interested in him. He cost Leeds 21 million quid. The Israeli central attacking midfielder, creative, looks really, really innovative as well, looks good in rhythm and in a little bit of space. But the problem is you're not going to get that space in the Premier League, and the space in the Austrian Bundesliga is going to be very, very different to that you get in the top league in the world. So it is a big risk, and it is risky, I think, going for some of these players that are outside these top 5 leagues, with how Leeds United need a lot of these signings to just hit the ground running at this moment in time. But there's a lot of sources suggesting from the Italian side, there has been Sky Italia, there has been a few others as well. Tuta Mercato involved in that. I think Sports Witness as well, suggesting that Leeds have an agreement with Lecce and Nikola Krstovic. It's all just about working the finer details out with Nikola Krstovic. So something to bear in mind there when it comes to him, and if Leeds United are actually going to get this deal done. But reports out there are suggesting that there is an agreement effectively set between the player and Leeds United. So there's a few bits to iron out, but there's a transfer in place for 19.6 million quid for the forward, and reports out in Italy are suggesting that there is an agreement there. So take that with obviously a pinch of salt, but it could be true. It might not be true. There's obviously Joe Donahue from the Leeds United side saying there's effectively no contact even being made. But from the Italian side, especially from Sasha Tavaleri, he is literally saying consistently that Leeds have been offering 23 million plus add-ons. There's been this communication made earlier on this month. There's been inquiries all the way back when. So it's conflicted information right now. So it's who you believe. And this is why the rumour mill really does come into full force at this point of the season. Okay, let's have a look. Would prefer Pavlidis from Benfica, 100%. Shelley the Toffee Blue, some Everton fans in here as well. Hello. Can genuinely see us playing 5 at the back this season. Just got a feeling. Morning, Con. Love your videos. Keep it up. Thank you so much. James in the building. Howdy. Cy Gizmo. Hiya, mate. Hackon is in the building. Morning, mate. Morning, Connor. Hello, hello, hello. Tommy, done my predictions on your other channel, bud. Tommy, I need to know what Leeds fan has hurt you, my friend. What Leeds fan has hurt you? Because flipping heck, Tommy's got us to lose in every single video, I think. Tommy could be the biggest Leeds hater we have on the Leeds channel. I have to say that. So let's just prep up these likes on the video, everybody. Do me a massive favor. Can we try hit 1,000 likes, and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well? It does us an absolute favor. So thank you so much for your continued support on the Rumour Mill and just the channel in general. Okay, this is an interesting one. One that I didn't expect to see this morning, Mario Pasalic. Now, Pasalic has been on the scene for a while now, 30 years of age, and apparently Leeds are in for the Croat with Everton, Roma, and other unnamed sources, unnamed clubs, I should say. So the Croatian international has got 80 caps. Naturally, Pasalic is a goal-scoring midfielder. I mean, if you're not aware of him, late runs into the box. Positional versatility within that midfield. Pasalic has always been sort of at the top of the European circuit. I think when in some of the mid to upper echelon of the European circuit when it comes to ability and who he's been playing for. If you look at the Farke fit, it's probably a smart signing. He's intelligent. He's a composed midfielder with experience, and he's probably a little bit more of a box to box. I feel who can maybe roam as a number 8 or even a sort of left central midfielder potentially in a 4-4-2 if we're to go that way, or obviously a 4-3-3 if he's to operate on that left and veer out wide in that midfield central space. Now, Sports Boom are suggesting today, and there's a few other sources suggesting that apparently Leeds are interested. Leeds, Sunderland, an unnamed contract as well, with Pasalic being out of contract at the end of the month, obviously June. There is a Premier League opportunity there. Premier League opportunity there for Leeds United and for Sunderland. But amazingly, it looks like Leeds are ahead in this race. So this is once again, guys, based on rumours, based on this, that, and the other. But for me, a free transfer with Champions League experience, does it follow the Nemecha brand a little bit? You know, Champions League pedigree, logical, low risk. Nemecha, German senior level experience. You know, a real prodigy when it comes to Manchester City. Just fallen out. Their youth setup has just fallen out of favour in the last couple of years, really, when it comes to obviously his injury and other bits and bobs. But I think this will be a smart signing. We're talking about beefing up that bench. I think Pasalic should be a really nice signing, a bit of experience. Could there be even, conversations about him starting as a little bit of a box-to-box midfielder, that physicality being imprinted on this Leeds United side? So yeah, I like how smart he is in that midfield. He's been around for a while now. I can't believe he's only 30 years of age, but as a free transfer, maybe a bit of a short-term solution. I think there's leadership there. I think there's intelligent positioning. Yeah, I like Pasalic. Guys, let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Do you think it'd be a smart signing? Do you think? I don't think that'd be. I don't think that'd be a bad one. To be honest with you. Let's have a look. Good for me, 100%. I think SPG says, I think this is nonsense. Have you watched the videos? Which one is that, mate? Is that for Krstovic? Yeah, there's conflicting reports, which is really fascinating with Krstovic. As I say, out in Italy, it feels like it's one they are pretty adamant on, but our end, I think sometimes the frustration, I think, with our end at points is there is just a no, they're not in for him. Okay. And we won't go into specifics, but I think sometimes with the news our end, it's just like, no, they're not in for him. It's like, okay, like any more detail? Who are we in for? Is there any exclusives there? Are there, are we, I know you're just saying we're not in for them and we're not in for them and we're not in for them, but I know they can't, I know they can't just find things, they can't just poof things out of, the air, but you'd hope that maybe the communications points with our local journalists mean that they can get the scoop, and Barron's got the scoop, hasn't he, on a fair few things. But you just wonder sometimes if it's not just, Leeds aren't in for him. Okay, well, who are we in for then? Because we're definitely in for some players. So if we're not in for Krstovic, but everyone in Italy is saying we are, that's fine. But there's obviously some alternatives that we're in for. Can you tell us who we're in for when it comes to that? And yeah, it's interesting who the club feed the information to, I think, in the transfer window. But you've obviously got to think that the club aren't feeding anything to these like Italian sources. These Italian sources will be getting them their their information from sides like Lecce, potentially. And as I say, it could just be agent talk, but it could be fueled by genuine credibility as well. So, morning, Conrad. Hi, Connor from Greece. Hey, Will. How's it going, mate? Good morning, guys. Anyone else enjoying the off-season? Part of me doesn't want the season start. I know what you mean, Lodi. It's kind of, I'm a big fan of just building the puzzle. I'm a big fan of just building that Premier League puzzle. I always like it, obviously, when we're in the top league, 100%. But I'm a big fan of just being able to, put together what this Leeds United puzzle would be. And I think Mario Pasalic should be a nice little addition with the Metro. We've got to build up that bench. We've got to build up that overall squad pile. It can't just be the starters. And I think we're aware of that. J Lamb says we need to build the squad and can't afford to buy every single, excuse me, we can't afford to buy every player at 20 million plus. Pasalic sounds like a good deal, maybe on a 2-year deal. Yeah, low risk and logical, mate. I think that's kind of where I'm working. Jamie says, great signing on a free, hard-working midfielder, played the full season. Yeah, man, it sounds like everybody's kind of in a similar spot when it comes to Pasalic, which is decent. Guys, we have 779 of you in the building. I just wanted to shout out on Shop GNO, our sponsor for the channel. Guys, you can get involved in that. You get a free membership with One Leeds, which gets you involved with gifts, reward, little prizes that we're getting on there. There's more Leeds United things been uploaded in the next couple couple of months as well, if that's your fancy. But it is an e-commerce site with 5% cheaper rates than Vinted, eBay, and Amazon. List your shop over there, and I will obviously give you a bit of a shout out on here. Pet Care Factory have just uploaded their shop. They're seeing the benefits from it as well, and they've gone through one Leeds, and it's great to see a shop being listed over there as well. But if you just want to browse and you want to have a look at individual bits on there, there's discounts, 30%, 20% for your holidays and all that good stuff. We're all sponsored by the Job Match Group. Tailored jobs to every one of your specific needs. If it's F1 jobs you want, if it's a footy job you want, if it's retail, security, whatever the weather, they've actually got specific jobs off the Job Match Group for those specific sectors. So make sure you get involved in that as well if you're looking for a job at this moment in time. I know the old market can be tough, and there's jobs listed throughout the week. I think we've got some security jobs that have just been uploaded up there now, so make sure you check that out. Okay, let's move on, shall we, everybody? Now, this is an interesting one. We always talk about, we always say tranquillo, tranquillo, tranquillo on here, but this is interesante, very interesting. Aaron Ramsdale. What do we know about him? Well, yesterday we were speaking about him potentially coming to Leeds United, and Leeds being the hotshot favourites to get the England stopper. 20 million quid for his signature release clause out in the open right now, but apparently there is a clause in there where a team can go in and get him on loan as well. England international, some would say a reliable Premier League keeper, strong reflexes, and a decent shot stopper, I would say. Now, we keep talking about the Farke fit here. I think there is maybe a level of just ability when it comes to Ramsdale. I'm not doubting that. I think there is ability there with Aaron Ramsdale. You don't become an England goalkeeper if you don't have that. We've spoken about the pros and cons when it's come to Aaron Ramsdale. I think there would be a high wage as well, of which he is on at Southampton now. We've got to bear that in mind as well. But West Ham are apparently still interested. However, the Times are discussing, well, the reporting via Team Talk this morning that apparently Rangers are also looking at Aaron Ramsdale and they want him on loan. Now, this is a nice little domino effect, isn't it? Because obviously we saw Max Aarons pretty much signed, sealed and delivered. There was rumours earlier on this week and this month that Leeds United were the ones after Max Aarons. But maybe we're getting kind of mixed up with Rangers and the 49ers, when they're involved in negotiation. Maybe there's just a slip of a source and it's like, oh, the 49ers are involved in a player, or an agent says something else to the 49ers. It must be Leeds United. But maybe there's a bit of cross wires there when it comes to Leeds United, obviously, and maybe it is Rangers. Rangers involved in communication and negotiation. Obviously, we've seen, English goalkeepers, former English international goalkeepers, go up there and do relatively well when it comes to Joe Hart, Jack Butland, straight off the dome. Aaron Ramsdale might look at this and think they're a massive club, Rangers, which we're all very well aware of. And Ramsdale then goes to Rangers, and I can see that being very attractive for Aaron Ramsdale to effectively get his career back on track at a massive club and in a much weaker league, of which he might be able to show himself off. But although Jack Butland, I don't think has looked great in Scotland, but I think Joe Hart did look great. I thought he was excellent in his spell at Celtic. So serious upgrade for them up there. I think we can do better. I've mentioned several times. I mean, I was surprised, everybody. I was surprised. We put a short out last night about Nick Pope. Three people put back on the short. You might be able to see the comments. 2 or 3, I think it was. And Football Subjective, I thought it was interesting, but 2 or 3 people put on there, I'd rather keep Meslier. And I was like, what? I was like, really? And I was like, wow, okay. I didn't know that was still the consensus with some fans. And obviously, welcome opinion as long as it's respectful on this channel. But fair enough, maybe that's the balance. But a lot of people still not sure on Nick Pope. Maybe it's the age, maybe it's the recent injury, maybe it is that injury record. But I think Nick Pope would be a really nice solution for Leeds with another goalkeeper coming in. And we're speaking about central midfielders. We're speaking about maybe bringing some in like Pasalic. Maybe would challenge for that starting spot, but Pasalic for me is a rotation option. With Champions League experience and a free coming in. You look at some of what Leeds United are going to be doing in this window. They've got to be bringing in real competition in these areas. A goalkeeper, I think Darlow should go down to number 3. We're going to get into the goalkeeping news in just a little bit, but Darlow should go down to number 3. And I think there should be 2 keepers. I think there should be 2 keepers coming in. So that's kind of where I'm looking at with Nick Pope. It's like Nick Pope, okay, and one other, maybe young shot stopper who who can maybe grow into that role, learning off Nick Pope. That's real sustenance. That's real quality that you can build into a Premier League outfit for me. You might have to go to the continent to be fair, but there are some fine goalkeepers on the continent for really good value. So let me know what you think on that one, everybody. The goalkeeper situation is really interesting. Morning, Connor. Hi, Trev. How's it going, mate? Ken says, I think the GK is the position we should go for a reliable long-term option, not having a loan. Relegation, loan clause. What a bunch of idiots. Exactly, mate. Loan will make sense. Would never pay 20 million when Kelleher was much less. Okay, Just Ink says, I'd rather go a bit more for a keeper like Mile Svila from Roma. Could be done for a decent fee. Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about him at the minute. So you're not the first one. You're not the first one whatsoever. Morning, Con. Hi, Loaf. How's it going? Martin says, Connor, talk to Shop GNO about them sponsoring you a car. Yeah, maybe, mate. I might do that. But yeah, guys, really appreciate all these kind comments coming in. Pope over Ramsdale all day long. The Leeds United comp says, Ramsdale is levels compared to Elan, and that's saying a lot. Opinions are fine, but Mez over Pope is just mental. Yeah, I mean, you can check out the old shorts, everybody, which we upload sort of 2 or 3 times a day. It was on there. So, but yeah, I guess that will be a nicer move for Ramsdale. And I just want Leeds to, and I think it might have been agent talk. I'm with Ramsdale in particular, guys. You kind of hear things. Luckily enough, with the channel, you hear certain things, and with Ramsdale, I'm quite lucky enough to know that if something was happening with Leeds United, I think I know I'd know pretty early on. And that's not me being an ITK or anything like that. Just luckily enough, you hear things very, very close to a certain player, pretty much from the horse's mouth. And what I can tell you about Aaron Ramsdale is he would love the move to Leeds. He loves Leeds as a football club. So, and that's not rubbish. His dad likes Leeds as well. There's a real affinity there. I don't know why, but yeah, they would push that if it was an option, but it doesn't look like that's an option. And another viable option, obviously, would be Rangers there. Okay, this is a bizarre one this morning. So Natan de Souza. Now, Natan de Souza is a centre-back for Real Betis, plays obviously in Seville with the Green Giants. Obviously, is highly sought after by Leeds, apparently at Lazio and 2 other unnamed clubs. There's been murmurings that it is Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid would make a lot of sense here. Apparently, Real Betis want 38 million quid for his signature. Apparently, Leeds have made a call about Natan, and there has been an unnamed club put an offer in for 23 million pounds. So Natan is a centre back and can play on the left side of a centre back pairing as well. So yeah, this one's once again interesting. Brazilian left footed centre back, looks pretty calm under pressure, pretty press resistant. Enjoys stepping into midfield. Reminds me a little bit of Murillo at Nottingham Forest. I would quite like him for a Farke system because obviously, I mean, in all fairness, I don't think we're going to be prioritizing build up, but that is naturally the Farke system, isn't it? In the Championship in particular, it is prioritizing control build up, the width from the centre backs as well, effectively just splitting that penalty box. So you've just got that wide berth, so Tanaka can just drop inside. But I do like how Natan just steps forward into that midfield, and that's kind of what we've got with Yaka Biol now. Biol will do that as well, which is really exciting, and it builds into the conversation of what we're speaking as well as of what we're speaking about yesterday. Really, do we need another centre back? I love that 3. That 3 for me that's kind of the American way of doing it, isn't it? That's the English way of doing it, but. Yes, I like the 3 in terms of Struijk, in terms of Rodon and Biol. I think it's an excellent compliment. I think all of them are Premier League. I think it's a Premier League back 3. I mentioned yesterday that I think we've got a Premier League 2 in midfield in Ampadu and Tanaka. And obviously we're going to add to that players like Pasalic will only aid that. But someone like Natan de Souza coming in, I think you would have to see a big sale. I think Struijk's going to have to go out for that, obviously, because Natan de Souza plays on the left-hand side of a centre-back. He can play in a 3, by the way. Obviously, he can play in a 2, so that's the versatility you want. But the pros about him, he's technical, he's mobile, he's strong, but he has got that tactical upside. And we were speaking previously about a month and a bit ago about Leonardo Balerdi and him being really ball orientated. And I think that's maybe what you'd need to get if a Pascal went. I think on the ball, Pascal is the better out of all of the three centre backs. So maybe if Pascal was to go for PSR reasons, you would have to go out and maybe get a Natan De Souza. You would have to get someone who is good on the ball, can step up a little bit and give Leeds United that variation. We spoke about Leeds being direct, but guys, we still do have to be able to pass from a, on a short-term basis out from the back. We have to be effective in these short-term passes, vertical passing, try progressive all the way from the back so we can get up the pitch at points. It can't always be direct, but Leeds definitely need to implement that into their style of play, obviously. So, but I think there's a little bit of a high fee there and feels like, once again, it's the intensity of the Premier League, but look, we can't be picky here. We can't be picky here. When we go into the continent, we're looking at La Liga here. We're looking at La Liga and we're looking at that transition. It should be a little bit more seamless. But Sports Witness are suggesting this morning that apparently Leeds United are in for Natan De Souza. As I say, would be a decent long-term fit for maybe someone like Pascal Struijk. But I don't know if it's that logical at this moment in time. What do you guys think? Yeah, honestly, including Struijk in the deal might be a shout. Okay. LFC Champion says, can't see this happening. We shouldn't be spending that much money on another centre-back when we need to start spending on a GK striker first. Elmi says, I'm afraid Daniel Farke's style of play going to cost Leeds United in the Premier League. I've seen that, mate. Dale, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate that comment. That's a lovely comment from yourself. Those little comments do help, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. They literally just signed him 3 weeks ago. 9 million. Yeah, crazy if he leaves, 100%. Conor Zeeland Melee reached an agreement to sign for Leeds, going by Leeds Live. Yeah, we can get into it. We can get into it 100%, and we will do it at some point, mate. Of course, we've got a few to discuss. 38 million is high though. It doesn't look awful, but for 38 million, no chance. Jake Hall, great picture, mate. Morning, Con. Any updates for the new shirts being released? Not yet, mate, but we kind of normally see the usual time of which the shirts are released. We've seen some leakages online, haven't we? Martin says, is Natan better than Struijk? No, not for me. Not for me, but you guys know I'm a big fan of Struijk. He's someone who's very similar, but no, not for me, not for me. But I'm a big fan of Pascal Struijk. I would say maybe Pascal is when I think when you look at how I think the level of Pascal Struijk is so calm under pressure, which to be fair, Natan is. He is calm under pressure, but you've got that. I think anyway, you've got that level of assurance with Struijk when partnered, I think, with someone who's a little bit more, someone who's assured, someone who's steady. I don't think he was given that facility in the Premier League, and he was moved around a bit, wasn't he? And I think it was here, there, and everywhere. I think there's one position of which is going to massively help Pascal Struijk, Joe Rodon, which is going to change in a little bit. But I think there was just a little bit of inconsistency with Pascal in the Premier League. There has been inconsistency with him in the Championship as well, and that's why I can understand people being like, get rid of him. But he is our best ball player as a centre back. I think even including Beal. But what I would say is, I think you've just got an understanding there, in my opinion, that Pascal is going to perform at hopefully a 6 or 7 out of 10 most weeks. That's what I'm hoping, partnered with a decent centre back and a consistent centre back, even if it is Rodon or Beal, or even if it's in a back three. So no, I would take Pascal right now, to be honest with you. Okay. Where do we start here? I'm just going to give you the news. Okay. I'm going to give you the news, then we'll get into the old DDD. If you know, you know. Leeds United goalkeeper Ilan Meslier has reached an agreement. Oh, sorry, I just got a bit excited. Leeds United Leeds United goalkeeper Ilan Meslier has reached an agreement to sign for Fenerbahce. Oh, God, this report's annoying me. Leeds Live have put a report out there and they spelled Fenerbahce wrong. According to reports in Turkish media, it has been claimed that the French shot stopper has been pinpointed as an ideal replacement for Croatian international Dominic Livakovic. The 25-year-old is reportedly expected to travel to Istanbul this weekend, with his future at Ellen Road seemingly coming to an end. Despite winning promotion, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah. According to Ajan Spor, Jose Mourinho's side have reached an agreement with Meslier. He's entering the final year of his contract and will travel to the Turkish capital at the weekend. Now, what I will say about Ajan Spor is I've done a bit of a little bit of a bit of research on him, and when you do look at the Turkish side of things, they are not a massive fan of the source, and I believe that the guy who reported it works for Ajan Spor. And they've said that this is absolute. There's fans basically reporting back to it as we would report to some of the sources of which we would maybe criticize on this side of things, saying this is rubbish, this isn't happening, yada yada yada. But there is some funny bits where that they are putting his they're putting his like compilation of the the preseason game against Aston Villa it was a fair few years ago, where he made the penalty save and then he saved the rebound from that penalty. It's a really good double save, but it's hilarious. So they put that on, and then there's Leeds fans commenting back with his season highlight reel for like the last 2 years, which which is quite funny. But yeah, so I'm not sure on this one. I'm not sure. This would be unbelievable. And once again, we've got to really focus on the fact that it's the final year of his contract in West Yorkshire. If we can get some value for Elan Meslier now, which is why I was saying 2 years ago, people are like, you can't get rid of Elan Meslier. And obviously, you had Daniel Farker last season saying he's the best goalkeeper in the league. That was when his stock was high. His stock was relatively high when comments like that were being made. It happens with players. You can sell them on. We know Marseille came in and Leeds rejected a bid from Marseille. That was official. So now we're in a period, we're at a point in time where Leeds United, we can't really be picky when it comes to Elan Meslier. So, as I say, this is Leeds Live via Ajan Sport, and there is a Turkish reporter who's broke the news. There is a lot of response back to this when it's come to Leeds fans, but obviously Fenerbahce fans as well. Not all are turning around and saying like he talks rubbish and all this sort of stuff. But the validity of this guy is quite difficult because I've never come across him before. He's not like a well-known journalist, but it is very, very specific. Jose Mourinho side reached an agreement with Leeds. He goes out to the Turkish capital this weekend. It feels very specific. So, yeah, and obviously, we know what club he was linked to not long ago. So could this be a little bit of a ploy, as a little bit of a screw you sort of thing? But with Lovakovic leaving as well, could this be a nice acclimatization for Elan Meslier to play at a lower standard? Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to drive in there. Okay, let's have a look. Connor, I heard from Nick Pope from Newcastle. What do you think of these rumours? Eric, I've been more than happy with that, mate. I would be more than happy with that. I like Nick Pope. I do. Lee says private jet for Meslier. Bye-bye, Meslier. Can't even fly out today. Luke says the source is unreliable according to comments from the Turks underneath the original post. Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. It'll be interesting to see whether or not this develops, whether or not this gains a little bit of momentum. But yes, it looks like maybe the source is a little bit wayward. So we'll have to wait and see. This is what the rumor mill's all about, isn't it? It's not the consolidation mill, as we keep saying. Jay says, be a great part for all parties. Move for all parties. If it happens, Mez hasn't hit his potential and gone backwards in the last few years. Let's get some cash in for him now and move onwards with a more stable Premier League goalkeeper. 100%. And that's what we're talking about as well, Jay, when it comes to potentially Leeds getting 2 goalkeepers, which I think we have to do, which was always the plan. We need 2 goalkeepers. We need 2 left backs. We need another right back. We need probably another central midfielder, a depth central midfielder. We need to really pack this squad out, don't we? Especially with some of the players that are leaving. When you're looking at maybe Joseph, when you're looking at Gruev, when you're looking at Meslier, when you're looking at players like this who are going to move on, you've got to really bulk that squad up. So James says, "Stop crushing my dreams, Connor." Look, let's hope this happens. Let's hope this happens. I mean, the lead response to it. Do you know what? On a human level, you do kind of feel sorry for him. But I have to say, I remember when he came out. Football's a ruthless game, and it is what it is. But I do remember him coming out and saying that, effectively he'd welcome a move to Chelsea when we got relegated, but only if he starts. Insane for the membrane. And then obviously Leeds rejecting the money from Marseille, Deserby's Marseille, which was there, and Leeds said the offer wasn't enough, and they could get So just please, Leeds, it's better for both parties. I don't want a scenario next season. I don't think it will be this. This will happen, but I don't want a scenario where at some point Bamford has to come back in and play for Leeds, no matter what he said. I don't care if he says that football's not linear, and I've said that all season. And he said that he feels like he can suit the Premier League. I don't care, Patrick. Goodbye if we can get rid of you. And the same with Meslier. Let's just move on. Let's just move on. And I feel sorry for him in a sense because everyone's going to be over the moon. But this guy has cost us so much in the past, however many years, 3 years, when it's come to goal prevention, save percent. We've just got to get rid of him. We really have to. So, yeah, have to. And let's hope we do that. Tom says I'd take a digestive for him. AO says, why do people keep saying we need centre back? Our number one priority is a 10 and a left. Okay, interesting. I would probably say goalkeeper for me is the priority, and a striker, I think, right now. Okay. Mark says I'm driving him. Fair enough. It's his job, says Lucas. For why feel sorry for him? I don't know. I feel sorry. I feel sorry for him just on a bit of a human level, and we criticize the footballer, don't we, Ilan Mele? We criticize the footballer, but it must be difficult for him as a person, seeing all the flack that people like me and everybody else has given him. But unfortunately for Ilan, it is as Claude once says, time to go. Whole squad is priority. Darlow is probably the best number 2 we could hope for. He's there when needed. And experience. LEFC champion says it's crazy how rumours of 50 mil happening during that lockdown season, and Leeds fans were saying still keep, mate. It was, yeah, I was getting a lot of, I've been getting a lot of rubbish for saying that about Ilan Mele for the best part of 4 years now. So, but it is football. It's subjective. I think a lot of people with Ilan, quite rightly as well, were saying things like, he's not hit his potential yet. Look at where we could get to. And you got to think at that phase, he might have been like 22, 23. But at that point, your stock is high. You've got to remove sentiment. You've got to sell. When some of these players are, a little bit more notorious, if they've gone through a good spell, then the priority right then is to look at what's happened before. Okay, they've had a little bit of a purple patch, but then in the purple patch, you've got to negotiate a way of which to get rid of that player because their stock is high. That's what's got to happen. Do you remember Bamford in January when he had the purple patch? Sell him. That's what we're saying on the channel. Sell him. But it's that sentiment that creeps back in. Oh well, he's doing well for us now, and I get that to a certain extent. But you've got to be able to have the facilities in the squad to be able to replenish that, replace that, and then get rid of that player. There was murmurings around Bamford as well, even last January, but it was kind of muted immediately. And maybe that's from the Leeds side. Maybe it was just from from the other clubs who were interested. But when these players' stocks are high, which is not going to get that high for a lot of them, if we're able to sell at that point, that is exactly what you've got to do, not just keep a hold of them because of a purple patch. Okay, Rodrigo Muniz, Leeds United, and now Tottenham Hotspur are apparently in the picture. Leeds United having a 32 million quid bid rejected, according to multiple sources down south. 26 million quid plus 6 million in add-ons. Apparently, this was a little bit of an ambitious bid for the Whites. It feels like it was in the same category maybe as Habib Diarra. Leeds are not going to get him, but we'll put a bid anyway and see what happens. But we're all very, very aware of how this guy would work at Leeds United. Quick, technically gifted, strong, a real physical presence, scored 11 goals in 36 Premier League appearances, a really good return. When you look at someone like Liam Delap, who got something similar and then a move to Chelsea, I think he'd arguably be Farke's perfect striker right now as well in terms of what we're trying to achieve. Mobile, good link up, strong, good finisher, and I think he'd absolutely fit seamlessly in. The con is that it's going to Fulham are apparently asking for 50 million quid. I don't think it would be that. I think you could meet in the middle, but apparently now Thomas Franks, Tottenham are very interested, and apparently, according to sources, Dan South, Rodrigo Muniz would be interested in a Tottenham move. So I think we can move on very, very quickly from that one, to be honest with you. Remember when Bamford was linked to Arsenal? I do. We've had some shockers in goal, nowhere near the worst. Remember Felix Weidveld or whatever we've had. Muniz is never going to happen. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen as well, guys. I think we can move on from this. Now, I'm going to just let that marinate. We're just going to let that marinate. And guys, there's 1,200 of you in the building. Please make sure you're slapping a like on the video. Make sure you subscribed as well. Sharing it to your friends as well. If you fancy a bit of discourse, debate, discussion on a morning, as well as some nice little rumours in there as well. Scouting profiles. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. this is, and you can see some Everton fans in the chat. So the context around it is around about a year ago, he said that he wasn't going to sign another deal at Everton. So apparently he's got multiple clubs on the table in terms of offers. Experienced Premier League forward, 57 goals in 239 appearances. Obviously, we know fantastic in the air. We've played against Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and he's been successful against us, hasn't he? I think he scored a goal against us. Might have scored a couple against us in that season under Ancelotti, where he was, you know, he was at his pomp, really, wasn't he? Where would he fit into a Farke side? For me, it would be the focal point as a striker with our technical players in and around him. He fits that profile once again of what Leeds are looking at when it comes to Beto, Promise David, players of that ilk, Rodrigo, Muniz, good, strong, hold-up players who can link the midfield. I think Everton fans have got a good thought process with him as well. I think there's a lot of sentiment there when it comes to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's been there 9 years. They bought him from Sheffield United for around about 2 million quid, I think it was. But the pros of this for me would be free transfer, experience, dominant in the air, strong boy as well who can bring Leeds up the pitch. The cons of this is persistent injuries and missed huge parts when it comes to those 9 years. But then, is it a high reward gamble? I would say that this is only worth the gamble if you're bringing in a certified player in with him, maybe in terms of like a Nikola Krstovic, a certified player who, you know, and you can't do this every time because you don't know how Nikola would adapt to the Premier League, but someone who hopefully will be able to get you goals and has a history of playing every single week, which obviously Nikola has, and then, you know, scoring as well and being a bit of a prodigy when it comes to that, and, you know, having a bit of an upward trajectory. I think that's the only way you could bring Dominic Calvert-Lewin in. And then you've kind of got Nemecha, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and maybe a Nikola Krstovic, and then they're all battling for that number 9. That's kind of the only way I see it, to be honest with you. I know there'll be a lot of lead sites this morning saying that it'd be a really good addition. I think there will be doubts about Joel Peru this season. I think there will be. And look, I've just spoke about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I've just spoke about Nemecha. I've just spoke about maybe a Nikola Krstovic. Where does that leave Joel Peru? Now, I quite like the technical level of Joel Peru. I do. And for me, there's been frustration there because I still don't think, even though we got the golden boot, I don't think it's ever properly worked with Daniel Farke. I don't think he's a Daniel Farke player. I really don't. I think like that we've spoken about before, a Timu Pukki. We spoke about the strikers that Farke's had before, but Rodrigo Muniz, in my opinion, is the perfect Daniel striker for what he wants in his 4-2-3-1 system, even as a type more elevated, someone like Timu Pukki. So I can kind of I kind of don't understand why they got Peru. Maybe it's because Southampton were in for him at the time. Obviously, Russell Martin, and we wanted to get one of the top scorers in the Championship. So I get it from that respect. And then obviously this season he's Golden Boot winner, but I still don't think it's quite worked. Like Rodrigo didn't ever work at Leeds, but in his last season he got 14, 15 goals. But I don't think it ever worked at Leeds. I don't think we ever found that position for him. I think it's similar with Peru. And I think the system's affected Rodrigo. I think the system's affected Peru. But yeah, as I say, does it make sense for Leeds? Does it make sense? He's only featured in more than 26 league games once in the previous 4 seasons. So it's not a terrible record. His goals, it's not a terrible record. But I think if you're to bring someone like him in, it's a risk, but you've got to bring in like a Rodrigo Muniz or a Nikola Krstovic. You have to. You cannot be just bringing in Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Lucas Nemecha and having Peru in there. I think they've really got to think about that. So the injuries is a bit of an issue. I do like him. Once again, homegrown quota again. And we've got that with Nemecha, haven't we? But yeah, we've got to be careful here, I think, at points. So let's have a look at what you guys are saying. Take him on a free, why not? Look at Solomon. He did. Brett, I've mentioned this before, mate, but I think we've got to be careful. I think we've got to be really careful when it comes to doing stuff like this, mate. And I've kind of mentioned more when it comes to Solomon on it working at points, but let's not make generalizations about injured players coming into Leeds United now and it working. Like we can't do that because we've had an example of Manor Solomon, and it's only one season, by the way, with Manor Solomon. You know, it was only one season. I don't think we can generalize and make this claim now that any injured player that comes to Leeds United is going to be effectively sorted out by our world-class medical facility. I don't think that's going to happen because these players have been working within the best of the best when it comes to medical facilities in the world. You look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's been part of medical facilities in the Premier League for the best part of 10 years now. So I don't think he's going to come to Leeds and he's magically just going to repair. But you know, it was it kind of works, didn't it, with Manor Solomon? Maybe it was the lesser intensity on his body when it comes to going from the Premier League to the Championship, and him been able to just accrue those minutes as well and build up that. You know, there's lots of specific factors which you can't generalize, in my opinion, to every single player. Okay, let's have a look. We have Nemecha to do a job that DCL would do. Harrison is the most inconsistent player ever. I can always, when Everton's mentioned, there's always a little Harrison dig. 28 feels like he's been around forever. Definitely thought he was 30 plus. Bamford, Nemecha, and DCL. This is it. You've got to be careful as well because you know what do we get rid of Bamford? I mean, I do think they'll get rid of Bamford. I do think they'll get rid of Bamford. And I get the appeal with someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I genuinely do. Like I said, still under 30 as well. And he is proven to a lesser extent at the Premier League level. But I think we've just got to be really, really careful with this one. Really careful in terms of the injury prone and the contract that he's going to be on. 4 or 5 years ago would have been all over this, but not now. Far too many injuries, and I can see him staying fit. I can't see him staying fit for 40 odd games. He would have been a top 5. Yeah, I agree, mate. And I think I think him under Ancelotti was the peak of DCL's career. I really do. I think, you know, him and I think he's spoken about it as well. And I think that was peak Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm just not sure he's been the same since. And once again, you got to think what toll have these injuries put on him? That's what I would ask. You know, in terms of his movement, in terms of his ability, you know, to be able to sprint out of certain situations. Is he going to be the same player that he maybe once was? Let's have a look. Connor Noni, number 10. Alistair says, hard pass, missed so many games last 4 season. I'd agree with you there, mate. I think it's a pass. He just feels how sluggish he is with the ball. Good for it just feels how sluggish he is with the ball. Good for hold up. I think he'd be decent. He'd be a decent hold up player, but I just think we've got to be careful. As I say, this injury stuff will be cataclysmic if, you know, 2 of them were to go down. And that's what we've got to look at. Right, guys, and then we've got Krstovic right at the beginning. So we'll leave it there, everybody. So we've been going on for a little bit, but there is nearly 1,200 of you in the building. Do us a favor, slap a like on the video. We're going to leave it there. We will be back tomorrow morning with another episode of the Rumour. If anything comes throughout the day, there will be the Rumour wrap. We always mention this. If there's stuff coming, check out the Yaka Biol video from the other day, everybody. If you want to check that out and maybe figure out where Biol will fit in a Leeds United system, the pros and the cons. I know some of you might not be aware of that, so I put something together yesterday. It was what can we expect. So maybe check that one out. Found some second channel bits. I know a lot of you like Matt SB as well. We've done a prediction for the first 5 games, which is interesting. And yeah, that's a little bit more detailed as well. That's on the second channel now for you to have a look at if you fancy that. My name's Conor McGilligan. This is the Rumour. It's been an absolute pleasure. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for your ongoing support. Check out our sponsors. Check out the Patreon as well. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you